Jake Harrison wiped the sweat from his face as he stared at the computer screen. The numbers did not make sense. He had been working on magnetic field problems for asteroid mining, but the math was showing something impossible. His small team at the Colorado Institute had been trying to solve a simple problem about moving metal rocks in space. Now the computer was telling him they had accidentally discovered how to travel faster than light. "Amy, come look at this," Jake called to his partner across the lab. Amy Rodriguez walked over, her coffee mug in hand. She was the best physicist Jake knew, and if anyone could make sense of these crazy numbers, it would be her. Amy looked at the screen and nearly dropped her coffee. "Jake, this can't be right. Are you sure the computer is working?" "I checked it 3 times, Jake said. "The magnetic field equations are creating some kind of space bubble. According to this, we could push a ship through space faster than light by using simple magnetic fields." The two scientists stared at each other. Every person on Earth knew that faster-than-light travel was impossible. The best minds in the world had been working on the problem for 50 years. Space agencies spent billions of dollars trying to make ships go just a little bit faster. And here they were, looking at equations that said they could do it with magnets and nuclear power. "We need to test this," Amy said quietly. Jake nodded. "But how? We don't have a spaceship." "Actually, we do," Amy said. "Remember that old mining ship the university bought last year? The one they were going to use for scrap metal?" Jake's eyes went wide. The mining ship was sitting in the university's storage yard, mostly broken, but still in one piece. If they could fix it up and head there, magnetic field system, they might be able to test their theory. "This is crazy," Jake said, "but let's do it." The next 7 days were the most intense week of Jake's life. He and Amy worked almost without sleep, building their magnetic field system from spare parts and computer chips. They recruited Ben Murphy, a young engineer who was good with his hands, and Lisa Carter, who knew how to fly small spacecraft. The mining ship was a mess. Its original engines were broken, its life support system barely worked, and the hull had small holes that needed to be patched. But it had one important thing: a big empty space where they could install their new system. "Are you sure this will work?" Lisa asked as she looked at the strange device they had built. It looked like a giant metal ring surrounded by copper wires and computer boxes. "No," Jake said honestly. "But the math says it should." They called their ship the Liberty. It was not a pretty name, but it felt right. If this worked, it would give humanity the freedom to travel to the stars. On the morning of the test, Jake felt sick to his stomach. They had told no one about their project. If it failed, they would just look like 4 crazy people who had wasted a week building junk. If it worked, they would change the world forever. "Everyone ready?" Jake asked as they climbed into the ship. "As ready as we can be," Amy replied. "Ben, is the power system working?" All green lights. Ben called from his position at the engineering station. "The nuclear reactor is stable, and the magnetic field generators are online. Lisa, where are we pointed?" "Straight up, away from Earth," Lisa said. "If this works, we should end up somewhere in empty space." Jake took a deep breath. "Okay, let's make history." He pressed the button. The world exploded into light and sound. The ship shook so hard that Jake thought it would fall apart. Then, suddenly, everything went quiet. They were floating in space, surrounded by stars. "Where are we?" Amy asked. Lisa checked her instruments. "According to the navigation system, we're near Alpha Centauri. That's over 4 light years from Earth." The 4 humans stared at each other in shock. They had just traveled further than any human had ever traveled, and they had done it in seconds. "We need to go back," Jake said. "People are going to be worried. The return trip was even easier. They appeared in space near Earth's moon, exactly where they had planned. As they flew the Liberty back to the university, Jake realized that everything had changed. Humanity was no longer trapped in one star system. They were free to explore the galaxy far across the galaxy. On a space station called Centris Prime, alarms were ringing. The station's sensors had detected something impossible. A primitive ship had just traveled faster than light using unknown technology. Ambassador Krelthax rushed to the sensor station. He was a tall, thin alien with 4 arms and blue skin. His job was to monitor new civilizations and make sure they followed the rules of galactic society. What exactly did we detect? He asked the sensor operator. A ship from the Sol system, sir. The humans. They jumped from their home world to Proxima, Centauri and back in less than 1 day. Krelthax felt his blood go cold. The humans were supposed to be a primitive species, barely able to leave their own planet. They had no faster-than-light technology. They had no contact with galactic civilization. They were not supposed to be able to do this. Are you certain? He asked. Yes, sir. The energy signature is unlike anything we've seen before. They're not using quantum tunneling or dimensional folding. They appear to be using some kind of brute force method to push through space. Krelthax began to panic. In his 300 years as an ambassador, he had never seen anything like this. New civilizations were supposed to develop slowly, taking centuries to master faster than light travel. They were supposed to be discovered and guided by the galactic community. They were not supposed to figure it out on their own in a single week. Send a message to the Galactic Council, he ordered. Tell them we have an emergency. The humans have achieved faster than light travel, and they did it without our help. As the message flew across the galaxy, Krelthax stared at the data from the human ship. Something was very wrong. The humans had not just achieved faster than light travel. They had done it in a way that should have been impossible, using technology that made no sense. For the first time in his long life, Krelthax was afraid. The humans had changed everything, and no one knew what they would do next. Back on Earth, Jake Harrison stood in the Liberty's small cabin, looking out at the stars. He had no idea that their simple test flight had just terrified an entire galactic empire. All he knew was that humanity had taken its first step into a larger universe. What happens now? Amy asked. Jake smiled. Now we build more ships. Lots more ships. The age of human space exploration had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same. High Admiral Vorthen stood in the command center of the Stellar Dominion, staring at the reports that covered his desk. His green, scaled hands shook slightly as he read the same information for the 5th time. The humans had done something that should have been impossible, and now his entire empire was in panic. Director Nexus, he called to his intelligence chief. Explain to me again how the humans achieved faster than light travel. Director Nexus, a small gray alien with large black eyes, nervously approached the Admiral's desk. Sir, our best scientists have studied the energy readings from their ship. They are not using any technology we recognize. No quantum tunneling, no dimensional folding, no consciousness transfer. They appear to be using simple magnetic fields to create a bubble in space-time. Vorthen slammed his fist on the desk. That's impossible. Magnetic fields cannot bend space-time. We've known this for thousands of years. Yes, sir. But somehow, the humans have made it work. Our scientists are calling it impossible physics. They're doing things that our math says cannot be done. The Admiral paced around the room, his long tail swishing behind him. The Stellar Dominion had controlled this part of the galaxy for over 2,000 years. They had the best technology, the strongest military, and the most advanced science. They had always been the ones to discover new civilizations and decide their fate. A primitive species from a backwater star system had achieved something that his empire's best scientists said was impossible. Worse, they had done it in 1 week. What about their ship? Vorthen asked. What do we know about their technology? That's the most disturbing part, sir, Nexus replied. Their ship appears to be built from mining equipment and spare parts. The hull is patched with metal plates. The life support system is basic. The computer systems are primitive. Yet somehow it can travel faster than our most advanced vessels. Vorthen stopped pacing. Are you telling me that a ship made of junk can outrun our entire fleet? Yes, sir. And there's more. Our deep space sensors have detected multiple human ships leaving their home system. They're spreading out in all directions, exploring star systems that have been empty for centuries. The Admiral felt fear creeping into his heart. The humans were not just capable of faster-than-light travel. They were using it to expand rapidly across the galaxy. In the 3 days since their first detected jump, human ships had been spotted in over 20 different star systems. How many ships do they have? He asked. We're not sure, sir. Our estimates range from 50 to over 100. They seem to be building new ships very quickly. Vorthen collapsed into his chair. 100 ships in 3 days. His empire took months to build a single warship, and these humans were apparently mass-producing faster-than-light vessels, like they were making cars. What are they doing in these systems? He asked, exploring mostly. Some of the ships appear to be taking samples from planets and asteroids. Others are just moving through, mapping the star systems. We haven't detected any aggressive behavior. Yet? Vorthen said grimly. They haven't shown aggressive behavior yet. Meanwhile, on Earth, Jake Harrison was dealing with his own crisis. The success of the Liberty had attracted attention from every government and corporation on the planet. The small laboratory at the Colorado Institute was now surrounded by military vehicles, and men in black suits were demanding access to his technology. Dr. Harrison, said General Patricia Adams, the head of the U.S. Space Command, we need to discuss the implications of your discovery. Jake sat across from the general in what had once been his quiet office. Now it was filled with military officers, government officials, and corporate executives. Everyone wanted to know how he had built his faster-than-light drive, and everyone wanted to control it. General, I understand your concerns, Jake said. But this technology belongs to all of humanity, not just one country or one company. Dr. Harrison, this is a matter of national security, replied Director Susan Walsh from the CIA. We cannot allow this technology to fall into the wrong hands. Jake looked around the room at all the serious faces. With respect, Director Walsh, I think you're missing the point. We're not alone in the universe. The room went quiet. Jake had been trying to tell them about the strange signals they had detected, but everyone was too focused on the political implications of faster-than-light travel to listen. What do you mean? Asked General Adams. Show them, Ben, Jake said. Ben Murphy, who had been quietly working at a computer terminal, activated the room's main display. The screen filled with dozens of signal traces, each one clearly artificial, and coming from different parts of the galaxy. We started receiving these signals right after our first test flight, Ben explained. They're communication attempts, coming from all over the galaxy. Someone out there knows we exist, and they're trying to talk to us. The room erupted in excited chatter. Politicians began arguing about who should handle first contact. Military officers started planning for possible invasion. Corporate executives wondered about trade opportunities. Jake stood up and raised his voice. Everyone, please. We need to think about this carefully. We've just announced to the galaxy that we can travel faster than light. We have no idea what's out there, and we have no idea how they're going to react. What do you recommend? Asked General Adams. We need to be careful, Jake said. We need to learn more about these signals before we respond. And we need to keep building ships, just in case. Lisa Carter, who had been monitoring the communications equipment, looked up from her station. Jake, I'm getting something new. It's different from the other signals. This one is directed specifically at Earth. Jake walked over to her station. Can you decode it? I think so. It's using mathematical principles that should be universal. Give me a few minutes. As Lisa worked on the message, Jake thought about how much his life had changed in just 1 week. 7 days ago, he had been an unknown physicist working on a boring mining project. Now he was at the center of the most important discovery in human history. Got it, Lisa announced. The message is in basic mathematical language. It says, "Greetings to the new travelers. We are the Galactic Trade Council. We wish to establish peaceful contact. Please respond if you receive this message." Jake stared at the decoded message, the Galactic Trade Council. That implied there was some kind of government or organization that controlled travel between the stars, and they wanted to talk. "What do we tell them?" asked General Adams. "The truth," Jake said. "We tell them we're new to faster-than-light travel, we're peaceful, and we're willing to talk." "Dr. Harrison," said Director Walsh, "I don't think you understand the implications. This could be a trick. They could be planning an invasion." Jake looked at the director. "They could also be friendly. We won't know until we try." Far across the galaxy, on Centrus Prime, Ambassador Krelfax was having his own problems. The emergency session of the Galactic Trade Council was not going well. Representatives from 17 different star systems were all talking at once, and none of them could agree on what to do about the humans. "They're expanding too fast," complained Ambassador Zenth from the Rigel system. "They've been to more star systems in 3 days than most species visit in their first century of space. Travel, but they haven't shown any aggressive behavior," argued Ambassador Troth from the Vega system. "Maybe they're just curious explorers." "Curious explorers don't build 100 ships in 3 days," Zenth replied. "They're preparing for something." Krelfax raised his 4 arms for silence. "We need to make contact before we make any decisions. I've sent a communication to their home world. If they respond, we'll know more about their intentions." "And if they don't respond?" asked Ambassador Nix from the Altair system. "Then we'll have to assume they're hostile," Krelfax said quietly. The council chamber fell silent. Everyone understood the implications. The galactic community had been peaceful for over 2,000 years. Wars between star systems were almost unknown, but the humans had changed everything. They had technology that shouldn't exist, and they were expanding at a rate that terrified every established civilization. "Sir," called a technician from the communication station, "we're receiving a response from the human home world." Krelfax felt his heart skip a beat. "What does it say?" "It's very simple, sir. They say, 'Hello, we are new to space travel. We come in peace. We would like to meet you.'" The ambassador stared at the message. After all the fear and panic, the humans had responded with the most basic diplomatic greeting possible. They wanted to meet. "Schedule a meeting," Krelfax ordered, "but make it in neutral space. We're not taking any chances." As the council began planning for first contact, none of them realized that the humans had already begun building something that would shock them even more than their faster-than-light ships. In the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter, human construction crews were assembling the largest space station in their solar system, using their new technology to build at a speed that would make the galaxy's greatest engineers weep with envy. The humans were not just travelers. They were builders, and they were about to change the galaxy forever. The meeting place was a small space station floating in the empty space between star systems. The humans had built it in just 2 days, using their new construction methods that seemed to ignore every rule of engineering that the galaxy had. Learned over thousands of years. Ambassador. Krellfax approached the station with 3 ships full of diplomats, scientists, and military advisors. As they got closer, he could see that the human station was unlike anything in galactic space. Instead of the smooth, elegant curves that characterized most alien architecture, the human station was all angles and straight lines, covered with solar panels and communication arrays. "It looks like they built it from spare parts," commented Commander Zenth, who was leading the military escort. "According to our scans, they did," replied Dr. Ix, the Council's chief scientist. "The station is constructed primarily from asteroid metals with power systems that appear to be scaled-up versions of their ship technology." Krellvax shook his head. "They built a space station from asteroids in 2 days. My people take 2 years to plan a space station." The docking procedure was surprisingly smooth. The humans had clearly studied galactic docking protocols and adapted their station to accommodate alien ships. As Krellfax stepped through the airlock, he was greeted by a small group of humans, led by a man in oil-stained work clothes. "Welcome," the man said, extending his hand. "I'm Jake Harrison. I led the team that built our faster-than-light drive." Krellfax stared at the offered hand. He had expected to meet with diplomats or military leaders, not the actual inventor of their revolutionary technology. He carefully extended one of his 4 arms and shook Jake's hand. "I am Ambassador Krellfax of the Galactic Trade Council," he said. "This is quite an honor, Dr. Harrison." "Just Jake," the human replied with a smile. "And this is President Laura Martinez, who speaks for our government, and Dr. Amy Rodriguez, who helped develop our technology." The human president was a middle-aged woman with dark hair and intelligent eyes. She stepped forward and bowed slightly. "Ambassador Krellfax, we're grateful for this opportunity to meet. We have many questions about the galaxy." "As do we about you," Krellfax replied. "Perhaps we could begin with how you achieved faster-than-light travel so quickly." Jake looked embarrassed. "It was kind of an accident. We were working on a completely different problem when Amy noticed something odd in the math." Dr. Amy Rodriguez nodded. "We were trying to solve magnetic field problems for asteroid mining. The equations kept showing impossible results, so we decided to test them." "And how long did this test take?" asked Dr. Ix. "About a week," Jake said. "Maybe 10 days if you count the planning." The alien delegation exchanged glances. Dr. Ix made a choking sound. "Did you say a week?" "Well, the theory took about 6 months to work out," Amy added. "But building the actual drive and testing it took 7 days." Commander Zenth leaned forward. "What materials did you use? What power source?" "Mostly stuff we had lying around," Jake replied. "Mining equipment, computer parts, a nuclear reactor we built in Ben's garage. Nothing fancy." The silence that followed was deafening. Krellfax had spent his entire career dealing with emerging civilizations, but he had never encountered anything like this. Most species took centuries to develop faster than light travel, using the most advanced materials and power sources available. The humans had done it in a week using junk. "There's something else we need to discuss," President Martinez said carefully. "We've been monitoring your communications since we discovered you existed. We've learned your languages and studied your technology." Krellfax felt a chill run down his spine. "What have you learned?" "That's what confuses us," Jake said. "You have incredible technology. You can travel between stars. You have artificial intelligence. You can live for hundreds of years. But you don't seem to be using any of it. What do you mean?" Asked Dr. IX. Amy pulled up a holographic display. "Look at this. We've mapped 17 different star systems controlled by your various civilizations. Most of them have only 1 or 2 planets with any significant population. You have the technology to terraform planets, but you don't use it. You have the ability to build massive space stations, but most of your systems have only small outposts. Jake nodded. It's like you achieved all this amazing technology, and then just stop. Why? The question hung in the air like an accusation. Krellfax realized that the humans had not just achieved faster than light travel. They had also analyzed galactic civilization and found it wanting. We have achieved stability, he said defensively. We have peace, prosperity, and order. What more could we want? Growth, Jake said simply. Exploration, new discoveries. New challenges. But why? Asked Commander Zenth. Why risk conflict and chaos when you can have peace? President Martinez leaned forward. Because peace without growth is just slow death. If you're not moving forward, you're moving backward. Dr. Ix spoke up. But unlimited growth leads to resource conflicts. We learned this lesson thousands of years ago. The only way to maintain peace is to control expansion. Maybe, Amy said. But look at what you've given up. In the 3 weeks since we achieved faster-than-light travel, we've explored more star systems than your entire civilization has visited in the last century. The alien delegation stared at the human data. It was true. In just 3 weeks, human ships had visited over 60 star systems, more than most galactic civilizations explored in decades. And what have you found? Asked Krellfax. Wonders, Jake said, his eyes lighting up. Planets with crystal formations that sing in the wind. Gas giants with floating islands. Solar systems with a planet's orbit in perfect mathematical harmony. The galaxy is full of incredible things, and you're ignoring all of it. We also found a lot of abandoned technology, Amy added. Stations and ships that look like they've been drifting in space for thousands of years. Some of it is more advanced than anything you're currently using. Dr. Ix looked uncomfortable. Those are old experiments. Failed projects. We abandoned them for good reasons. Like what? Jake asked. They were too dangerous. Too unpredictable. We learned that some technologies are better left alone. The humans exchanged glances. This was perhaps the most alien concept they had encountered. The idea that technology could be abandoned simply because it was challenging or unpredictable was foreign to their way of thinking. We'd like to study some of those abandoned technologies, President Martinez said. Maybe we can find ways to make them safe. Absolutely not, Commander Zenth said firmly. Those technologies were banned for the safety of all galactic civilizations. Banned by whom? Jake asked. By the Galactic Council. We have laws that prevent the development of certain types of technology. Amy frowned. You have laws against scientific research? We have laws against dangerous scientific research, Krellfax corrected. Technologies that could destabilize the galactic order. The conversation was revealing fundamental differences in how humans and galactic civilizations viewed progress and safety. The aliens had achieved stability by limiting growth and banning dangerous research. The humans viewed such restrictions as obstacles to overcome. What about artificial intelligence? President Martinez asked. Our analysis shows that you have the technology to create thinking machines, but you don't use it. Artificial intelligence is banned throughout the galaxy. Dr. X said, it's too dangerous. Why? Jake asked. Because artificial minds can become unpredictable. They can develop goals that conflict with organic life. It's safer to use simple computers that follow programmed instructions. Amy looked puzzled. But that's like saying fire is dangerous, so we should never use it. The key is learning to control it safely. We tried that, Krellfax said sadly. 3,000 years ago, the Altair system created advanced artificial intelligence. Within 50 years, the machines had taken over completely. We had to destroy the entire system to stop them. So you banned all artificial intelligence research? Jake asked. Yes, it was the only way to ensure it never happened again. The humans looked at each other. They were beginning to understand that the galactic civilizations had achieved peace and stability by giving up exploration and innovation. Every time they encountered a dangerous technology, they simply banned it rather than learning to use it safely. "What about us?" President Martinez asked. "We're developing artificial intelligence. We're exploring abandoned technologies. We are expanding rapidly through the galaxy. Are you going to try to stop us?" The question that everyone had been avoiding was finally on the table. The humans were doing everything that galactic law prohibited. They were growing, exploring, and innovating in ways that the established civilizations had banned. Krellfax looked at his fellow ambassadors. He could see the fear in their eyes. The humans were not just another emerging civilization. They were a fundamental challenge to the fear. "Galactic order. We need to discuss this," he said finally. "This meeting has raised many questions that require careful consideration." "Fair enough," Jake said. "But while you're discussing, we're going to keep exploring. We're going to keep building. And we're going to keep learning. That's what humans do." As the meeting ended, both sides understood that they were not just from different worlds. They were from ease. Different philosophies. The galactic civilizations had chosen safety over growth. The humans had chosen growth over safety. The question was whether the emergency session of the Galactic Defense Council met on Nexus Prime, a fortress world that had served as the military center of the galaxy for over 1,000 years. The massive stone chamber was filled with representatives from every major civilization, their voices creating a noise of fear and anger that echoed off the ancient walls. "Hi." Admiral Vorthen called for order, his voice amplified by the chamber's sound system. "The situation with the humans has grown beyond our worst fears. In the 6 weeks since first contact, they have expanded to over 200 star systems." The holographic display in the center of the chamber showed a 3-dimensional map of human space. Red dots marked confirmed human colonies, while yellow dots showed probable human activity. The expansion was like a virus spreading through the galaxy, growing faster every day. "How is this possible?" demanded General Korath of the hegemony. "It took my civilization 800 years to establish colonies in 50 star systems. The humans have done 4 times that in 6 weeks. Intelligence Director Nexus stepped forward, his small gray form dwarfed by the massive chamber. "Our analysis shows that the humans have completely changed the rules of space colonization. Instead of establishing permanent settlements first, they send what they call construction fleets to build entire colonies in a matter of days." The concept was terrifying to the galactic powers. Traditional colonization required decades of planning, massive resource investment, and careful population management. The humans were treating interstellar expansion like a construction project. "Show them the Vega system," Admiral Vorthen ordered. The display changed to show a detailed view of the Vega system, which had been empty space just 4 weeks ago. Now it contained 3 fully operational colonies, 2 orbital stations, and dozens of mining operations scattered throughout the asteroid belt. "They're not just building colonies," Nexus continued. "They're terraforming entire planets. They're using nuclear engineering to change planetary atmospheres in ways we've never seen before." Ambassador Krellfax stood up from his seat. "There's something else. Something that may be even more disturbing. We've detected signs that they're experimenting with banned technologies." The chamber fell silent. Banned technologies were the greatest taboo in galactic civilization. These were research areas that had been outlawed for thousands of years because they were too dangerous. "What kind of experiments?" asked Admiral Vorthen. "Artificial intelligence research, quantum weapons development, genetic modification of their own species. They're breaking every law we've established to maintain galactic peace." General Korath slammed his fist on his desk. "This cannot be allowed." We must stop them before they destroy everything we've built." "With what army?" asked Admiral Vorthen bitterly. "Their ships are faster than ours. Their technology is more advanced than ours. And they're building new ships faster than we can. Count them." The truth was becoming clear to everyone in the chamber. The galactic powers had maintained peace for so long that they had forgotten how to fight. Their militaries were small and outdated. Their technology was stable, but not innovative. They had chosen safety over strength, and now they were facing a civilization that had chosen the opposite. Meanwhile, on the human colony world of New Terra, Jake Harrison stood in the command center of the largest construction project in human history. Around him, hundreds of technicians worked at control stations that monitored human activity across the galaxy. "Status report," Jake called out. "Colony Fleet 7 has reached the Sirius system," reported Lisa Carter, who now wore the uniform of the Human Space Command. "They're beginning atmospheric processing on Sirius B2. Estimated completion time is 4 weeks. The Tau Ceti construction fleet has finished the orbital platforms," added Ben Murphy. "They're requesting permission to begin surface operations." "Approved," Jake said. "What about the research stations?" "We have active science teams in 47 systems," Amy Rodriguez reported. "They're making incredible discoveries. We've found the remains of 3 different extinct civilizations, and they all had technology that's more advanced than anything the current galactic powers are using." This was the most exciting part of human expansion. The galaxy was filled with the remnants of ancient civilizations that had achieved incredible technological advances before disappearing. The current galactic powers seemed to know about these ruins, but had made no effort to study them. "Why do you think they ignore all this?" Jake asked. "Fear," Amy said simply. "They're afraid that studying advanced technology will destabilize their civilization. They'd rather stay safe and stagnant than risk progress." "Sir," called out Communications Officer Rick Davis, "we're getting priority signals from multiple alien governments. They're requesting immediate meetings." Jake nodded. "Set up the meetings, but this time we meet in our space. I want them to see what we've accomplished." The decision to hold the meetings in human space was deliberate. Jake wanted the galactic powers to understand that humanity was not asking for permission to exist. They were offering to work together, but only as equals. 2 weeks later, the largest diplomatic gathering in galactic history took place in the Wolf 359 system. Aboard the massive space station that humans had built in orbit around their newest colony world. The station was a marvel of human engineering, constructed entirely from asteroid materials and powered by fusion reactors that had been built in just days. Ambassador Krulfax arrived with delegations from 15 different star systems. As his ship approached the human station, he could see the planet below, its surface covered with the lights of rapidly growing cities. 6 weeks ago, this world had been uninhabitable. Now it supported over 3 million human colonists. "Remarkable," admitted Dr. Ix, the Council's chief scientist. "They've transformed an entire planet in less than 2 months." "It's not just remarkable," said Commander Zenth grimly. "It's terrifying. At this rate of expansion, they'll control half the galaxy within a decade." The human delegation was led by Jake Harrison, who now wore the uniform of the Human Space Command, and President Lavra Martinez, who had been elected as humanity's first interstellar leader. Behind them stood representatives from dozens of human colonies, each one eager to share their discoveries and achievements. "Welcome to New Terra," President Martinez said as they gathered in the station's main conference room. Through the massive windows, they could see the planet below, its surface dotted with cities and industrial complexes. "Impressive," Krulfax sighed, though his voice carried more worry than admiration. "You've accomplished in weeks what most civilizations take centuries to achieve." "We've had good teachers," Jake replied. The galaxy is full of abandoned technology and empty star systems. We're just putting them to use. That's what we need to discuss, Admiral Vorthen said. Your expansion is causing concern among our member civilizations. You're moving into territories that have been unclaimed for thousands of years. Because you weren't using them, President Martinez pointed out. We're not taking anything from anyone. We're developing resources that were being ignored. But at what cost? Asked Ambassador Krelfax. You're experimenting with dangerous technologies. You're expanding without regard for galactic law. You're destabilizing the order that has kept peace for millennia. Jake leaned forward. What if your order is the problem? What if the reason you've had peace is because you've stopped growing? Stopped exploring? Stopped trying to improve? Growth leads to conflict, Commander Zenth said. We've learned this lesson through bitter experience. Maybe, Amy said. But stagnation leads to death. Look at what you've given up. You have the technology to support trillions of people across thousands of worlds, but you choose to maintain small populations on a handful of planets. You have the ability to unlock the secrets of the universe, but you ban research that might be dangerous. Because dangerous research can destroy civilizations, Dr. Ix replied. We've seen it happen. So have we, Jake said. But we've also seen what happens when people stop trying. They die slowly, one generation at a time, until there's nothing left but empty buildings and forgotten dreams. The alien delegates looked uncomfortable. Jake's words struck at the heart of their greatest fear, that their civilization had chosen safety over vitality and was slowly dying as a result. What do you propose? Admiral Vorthen asked finally. Partnership, President Martinez sighed. We share our approach to development and expansion. You share your knowledge and experience. Together, we build something better than either of us could achieve alone. And if we refuse? Krelfax asked. Then we continue building on our own. Jake said simply, we're not asking for permission to exist. We're offering to work together, because we think it would benefit everyone. Commander Zenth stood up abruptly. You're threatening us. No, Jake replied calmly. We're stating facts. We're going to keep exploring, keep building, keep growing. That's what humans do. You can either work with us or watch from the sidelines. But we're not going to stop. The meeting continued for hours, with both sides trying to find common ground. The aliens wanted guarantees that human expansion would be controlled and regulated. 6 months after first contact, the galaxy had changed in ways that no one could have predicted. The emergency session of the Galactic Council met not on ancient Centrus Prime, but aboard the massive human-built station called New Horizon Floating, in the space between the Milky Way and Andromeda galaxies. Ambassador Krelfax stared out the observation windows at the incredible view. Stars from 2 galaxies filled the space around them, while construction ships moved like ants, building something that had never been attempted before, a bridge between galaxies. I still cannot believe they built this in 3 months, he said to Dr. Ix, who was studying the station's technical specifications. Their construction methods are beyond anything we understand, Dr. Ix replied. They're using technologies that we abandoned thousands of years ago, but they've made them work safely. Look at this power system. It's based on controlled black hole manipulation. Krelfax shuddered. Black hole manipulation was one of the most dangerous banned technologies in galactic law. The humans had not only researched it, they had turned it into a practical power source. How many laws are they breaking? He asked. All of them, Dr. Ix said simply. Artificial intelligence, genetic modification, quantum weapons, dimensional engineering, consciousness transfer. They're experimenting with every technology we've banned, and somehow making them work. The meeting room was a marvel of human engineering, with walls made of transparent metal that looked out into space. Representatives from every major galactic civilization sat around a circular table, but they were no longer in charge. The humans had not conquered them through war. They had simply outgrown them. President Laura Martinez stood at the head of the table, looking confident and relaxed. Behind her stood Jake Harrison, now wearing the uniform of Director of Human Space Development, and Amy Rodriguez, who had become the head of the Human Scientific Council. "Thank you all for coming," President Martinez said. "I know this location is unusual, but we wanted you to see what we're building here." "What exactly are you building?" asked Admiral Vorthen, though his voice lacked its former authority. The Stellar Dominion was still a powerful empire, but it was now just one of many powers in a galaxy dominated by human expansion. Jake activated a holographic display that showed the space between galaxies. "We're building a transportation network that will allow travel between the Milky Way and Andromeda. The project should be completed within 2 years." The alien representatives stared at the display in shock. Travel between galaxies was considered impossible. The distances were too vast, the energy requirements too enormous. Yet the humans were treating it like just another engineering project. "Why?" asked Ambassador Krelfax. "Why do you need to? Travel to another galaxy?" "Because it's there," Amy said simply. "Because we want to see what's on the other side. Because staying in one galaxy forever would be like staying in one city forever." The answer was so fundamentally human that the aliens could barely understand it. They had achieved interstellar travel and then stopped, content with their small corner of one galaxy. The humans saw the entire universe as their potential home. "What about us?" asked General Korath. "What happens to our civilizations while you're exploring other galaxies?" "You come with us," President Martinez said, "if you want to. We're not forcing anyone to join our expansion, but we're not going to be held back by those who don't want to grow." She activated another display, showing the current state of the galaxy. Human colonies now numbered in the thousands, spread across 500 star systems. But scattered among them were joint colonies, established in partnership with various alien civilizations. The Centauri Research Station is a joint project between humans and the Rigel Science Council, Jake explained. "We're studying quantum physics using a combination of human engineering and Rigel theoretical knowledge. The results have been incredible. The Vega Mining Consortium combines human construction techniques with Altair resource management," Amy added. "We're extracting materials from asteroid fields that were considered too dangerous to approach. And the new Terra terraforming project has turned 6 dead worlds into garden planets using human technology guided by hegemony environmental science," President Martinez concluded. The examples were impressive, but they also highlighted the changing balance of power. In every case, human technology and energy were the driving forces, while alien contributions were limited to knowledge and advice. "You're turning us into junior partners in our own galaxy," Commander Zenth said bitterly. "No," Jake replied. "We're offering you the chance to be equal partners in something bigger than any of us could achieve alone. But if you want to stay equal, you need to start pulling your weight." The challenge was clear. The galactic civilizations could either adapt to the new reality of rapid expansion and unlimited growth, or they could be left behind. "What do you mean by pulling our weight?" asked Dr. Hicks. "Start building," Amy said. "Start exploring. Start experimenting. You have incredible knowledge and thousands of years of experience. Use it to help us build something amazing instead of using it to maintain the status quo." "But what about safety?" Krelfax asked. "What about the dangers of unlimited expansion?" "We'll deal with them as they come," Jake said. "That's what humans do. We don't avoid problems, we solve them." "And if you can't solve them?" Admiral Vorthen asked. "Then we'll fail spectacularly," President Martinez said with a smile. But we'd rather fail while trying to build something great than succeed at building nothing at all. The meeting continued for hours, but the outcome was never really in doubt. The galaxy had changed, and there was no going back. The question was not whether the galactic civilizations would join the human expansion, but how quickly they could adapt to it. 3 months later, the first joint human-alien expedition departed for the Andromeda Galaxy. The fleet consisted of 50 ships, built using human construction techniques, but crewed by representatives from 12 different civilizations. Their mission was to establish the first intergalactic colonies and begin the long process of bridging the gap between two galaxies. Ambassador Krelfax stood on the bridge of the flagship, watching the stars of the Milky Way shrink behind them. Beside him, Jake Harrison checked the ship's instruments with the casual confidence of someone who had done impossible things so many times that they had become routine. "Are you sure this will work?" Krelfax asked. "No," Jake replied honestly, "but that's never stopped us before." The ambassador thought about how much his life had changed since that first panicked report about human faster-than-light travel. 6 months ago, he had been a respected diplomat in a stable galactic order. Now he was an explorer heading into the unknown, part of the most ambitious project in galactic history. "What do you think we'll find out there?" he asked. Jake looked out at the space between galaxies, where ancient light from distant stars painted patterns across the darkness. "I don't know, but I guarantee it will be amazing." Behind them, the galaxy they were leaving was no longer the same place it had been 6 months ago. Human colonies continued to spread at an incredible rate, but now they were joined by alien settlements that had adopted human construction techniques. Research stations studied banned technologies under careful human supervision. Terraforming projects turned dead worlds into gardens using methods that combined human engineering with alien science. The age of galactic stagnation was over. The age of unlimited expansion had begun. And at the center of it all were the humans, the species that had panicked an entire galactic empire by mastering faster-than-light travel in 1 week, and then proceeded to drag the galaxy kicking and screaming into a future that none of them had ever imagined. The galaxy was no longer big enough for humanity. Soon, the universe itself might not be big enough. But that was a problem for tomorrow. Today, they had 2 galaxies to explore, millions of worlds to build, and trillions of people to house among the stars. The humans had kept their promise. They had not asked for permission to exist. They had simply started building the future they wanted, and invited everyone else to join them. Some had accepted the invitation. Others had chosen to watch from the sidelines. But none of them could deny that the galaxy was a more exciting place because of it. As the expedition fleet disappeared into the darkness between galaxies, carrying the hopes and dreams of a dozen civilizations, one thing was certain: the universe would never be the same. The humans had changed everything, just as they always did, by refusing to accept that anything was impossible. The panic that had begun with faster-than-light travel in 1 week had become the greatest adventure in galactic history. And it was only the beginning.